Hi, my name's PJ. At Ixim we make fresh, handmade tortillas. And today I'm going to show you how to use some of those tortillas to make a dish called Cochinita Pibil, which is basically pulled pork with red sauce. Okay, so now what you're going to need for this recipe is about 1.5 pounds of pork tenderloin. It's a fairly large one here, and that's about 700 to 800 grams. We're going to need 3 ounces or 90 grams of achiote paste. You can find this, there's a lot of different commercial preparations of achiote paste. Pick any brand you like. There's a cup of orange juice in this recipe as well. 4 or 5 limes. Now if you want to use key limes, it adds quite a nice flavor to this dish, and you'll need about 12 to 15 key limes. But in this case we're going to use 5 regular limes. You're going to need a habanero pepper, 1 purple onion, and 24 fresh corn tortillas. Now, the utensils you're going to need are a knife and cutting board, tongs or some other type of mixing utensil. We're going to need a bowl, we're going to need a blender, and we're going to need a slow cooker. Now, if you don't have a slow cooker, you can use a regular pot on low heat on the stove top, or you could use a Dutch oven. But slow cooker is the way we're going to do it today. We're going to begin by making the sauce for this dish. So we're going to take our achiote, and we're going to place that into the blender. And then we're going to take 2 of the 4 limes here, just cut those in half. Now if you have a juicer, you can juice the limes with it. If you don't have one, you can just take them and squeeze the juice out by rolling them in your hands. You gotta have pretty strong hands for this. There's one. And these are quite juicy, so I think maybe I'll only use 1.5 instead of 2. Let's put the other half aside here. Now these particular limes don't have any seeds in them, but if you get limes that do have seeds, you're going to want to remove those before you add them to the sauce. So I'm going to take the lime juice here and I'm going to put it into the blender, just like that. And then I'm going to take a cup of orange juice and I'm also going to put that into the blender. Now we're going to want to sauce this, so put it on high for about 10 to 15 seconds. Okay, so now that our sauce is done, remove that there. We're going to take our pork and put it into the slow cooker here. And then we just cover that with the sauce. There you go. That's how it gets there. And we're going to cook that on a medium-high here for about 3 to 4 hours. You want to cook it until the pork starts to begin to pull apart. So the way you check that is you take 2 forks and you put it into the pork and start pulling it. And if it comes apart quite easily, when the fibers start to come apart, then you know that it's ready. So we're just going to let that cook away. Now that our pork is cooking, we can begin to make the onion salsa. So this comprises of purple onion, habanero, and lime juice, and is traditionally served with Cochinita Pibil. So we'll start with the onion here. Now you want to have a really sharp knife for this, because we're going to cut this as thin as we possibly can into rings. It's just the texture that is traditionally made. So we'll cut the core off here. Be very careful how you cut this. Don't cut your fingers with a sharp knife. Slowly and carefully there. Now if you can get them as thin as paper, that's the most ideal. Some nice paper thin rings. But it's quite difficult to do. Okay, so I've cut all that onion up now. I'm just going to go ahead and place that in this bowl here. And I'm going to start doing the same thing with the habanero. Again, you want to cut it as thin as possible. Thin little rings here. Okay, so I've cut up all the habanero here. Now one thing you want to be really careful of with habanero, because it's a very, very spicy chili, is never touch your eyes after. Wash your hands very, very well after you're done with this, and don't touch your eyes for at least a day after. So if you're tired and you want to rub your eyes, don't. Just trust me, it's a bad idea. So put that there in with the purple onion. See, nicely thin cut little rings there. Now we're going to cover it with the juice. Now you remember I had this half a lemon left from when I was making the sauce for the pork there, so I'll use that up. There we go. And a juice of about 3 to 4 limes is plenty. You want that juice to cover this. We're pickling this this purple onion. Okay, so I'm just finishing up with the last one there. Put that juice in there. So we just want to mix together this habanero and onion along with the lime juice. So I'm just going to go ahead and let this sit in the fridge for a couple hours while we're waiting for that pork to finish. So I'll see you in a couple hours. Okay, now that the pork has been cooking away for about 4 hours, it's ready to start pulling apart. So I'm going to take it out here, and just so that the camera can see it a bit better, I'm going to put it into this this glass tray here. You don't actually have to do this at home. You can break it up right inside of the slow cooker itself. So now you got 2 forks. You just want to start pulling the meat apart, just like that. Once the meat is fully apart, we're going to put it back into the slow cooker for another half hour, just so that it can soak up that sauce that's left in there. You'll notice that there's a good amount of sauce left at the bottom of the slow cooker. Okay, so we've got our meat pretty much nice and pulled apart here. As fine as you like here. If you get it a little bit finer when you're breaking it apart, then it's a nicer texture inside of the taco. Okay, so we're going to put that back into the sauce. Just like that there. And I'm going to mix this up a little bit with the sauce here. I'll let that cook. There we go, nice and mixed up. I'm just going to let that there cook for another half hour, and then we get to plate our tacos and eat them. Okay, so now I'm going to want to warm up a few tortillas. We're ready to serve the tacos here. So I've warmed up this pan here. You could use a griddle or a pan or anything, as long as it's dry heat. You can even do it in the oven. Some people do it in the microwave, but this is the way that they do it in Mexico, so it's the way I'm going to do it. Just place those there. Now these tortillas are pretty fresh, we just made them, but if they were a little bit stale, I would just sprinkle a little bit of water on top. Okay, our tortillas are nice and warm now and ready to plate. Okay, so I'm going to put about 3 tortillas on the plate here. I'm going to take some of my mix here that's been cooking away now for half an hour, and I put a little bit in each one, a nice little chunk there. Put as much or as little as you like. If you put too much, though, it'll be hard to fold up the taco. There we go. And then we get a little bit of the onion on top with the habanero. Use your hands with this, or you could use a fork to pick it up if you don't want your germs in there. And that's it. Super simple tacos there.